What's up, everybody? Welcome to the October Tidal Gardens live show. Hopefully, you guys are all doing well and can hear me okay. Like usual, we like to start with a little bit of a countdown just to make sure that there's no technical errors going on with the stream. Today, there might be my video capture card has been squirrely for a little while now. This is the thing that connects the camera to the computer, and it's been a little bit goofy. I figure that it's just like, dust in the connection and whatnot, but it does drop out every now and again. So this face camera thing, if it happens to drop off, that's why. And I may or may not be able to get it working again. I've got to blow on it like an NES cartridge, if you guys remember what those are like. So, anyways, what's going on? What is going on? Coming up here in about 10 days, I'm going to be flying off to the United Kingdom and attending Coral Freaks. Very much looking forward to getting out of the house just a little bit for that. I haven't been to the UK since 2019, so it's been a good long time. I wanted to get back there sooner, but COVID, blah blah blah, like travel was difficult. You know what? Travel was difficult everywhere. Like there's several trips that I had to cancel, including 2 trips to Hawaii. Needless to say, I would have liked to have gone there too. But anyway, I'm going to be going to the UK, going to visit some friends that I've got there, going to attend a show called Coral Freaks. On a recent podcast that we had here, we had Paul from Advanced Aquarium Consultancy, and he is putting on that show. It should be pretty interesting. I think that what he was going for with this particular show is like a smaller, more intimate gathering that's kind of like a podcast, but the audience can participate. So if somebody in the crowd's got like a burning question for one of the guests, they can ask it right then and there. It's going to be moderated by Jeremy Gay from Reef Builders. And so, yeah, looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing like a bunch of stuff in the UK. Like nowadays, when I travel, I try to not load up the schedule because I just know how busy and hectic travel can be. And I think the schedule kind of filled up on its own. I'm going to be seeing let's see, my friend Laura Carlin. She's a wholesaler and coral farmer there. I plan to see. I am blanking on all the names. I'm the worst. Who are these people that I want to see? Let's see. Saxby. David Saxby. He is the owner of D&D, and he has like a gigantic aquarium in his like London penthouse or something. So that'll be a cool experience. Going to see the Horniman Museum, and also looking forward to seeing Alex from Abiz. I twisted his arm just a little bit to fly in from Germany to come hang out with us in the UK. So very excited to see him again. I haven't seen him since Magna in Milwaukee. So long time coming for frankly a lot of these people. Like I haven't seen many of them for quite a bit. Checking up on chat here. Tony Lopez. Hey, the Snodsberry I purchased last live show is beyond beautiful. Yeah, I think I think that around here, that's kind of been our favorite type of coral. A lot of these fungids. Like I'm not exactly sure what the classifications of all of them are. I mean, they get like lumped into like Diaceras and Cycloceras and Fungia and whatnot, and they kind of been shuffled around. And so some stuff that's like called Diaceras, for example, like a snozzberry, or what is it called? Like the Diablo, like the rainbow Diablo Diaceras stuff. Like those are both called Diaceras, but clearly they're super different from one another. So eventually that'll get sorted out. Like Micromusa got sorted out, and Acanthastria got sorted out. But it might take a little bit of time for the industry to catch up on that. But that entire grouping of these plate corals, I think is super interesting, super cool, and I'm happy that there's so many now that can be propagated because for the longest time, like the perfect circle ones, I think they were always kind of considered cycloceras. Um, they were tricky to cut. Like every single time you would cut those, it's kind of likely to die. But now we're getting into more that can be aquacultured, and we are aquaculturing them. Okay. I always have to like keep an eye out for this transition because I have to do it by hand in 3 minutes. Okay. Let's see. John Williams is asking, Savannah, Georgia. Can you talk a little bit about water chemistry for trachees, nitrates, and phosphates? So here's where there's kind of like this divergence with what you see in the aquarium hobby and what you tend to see in the wild. Because trachees in the wild are very dirty corals. They're like lagoonal, and if you know anything about lagoons, they tend to be like really high nutrient, a lot of silt, a lot of like decomposing vegetable matter. Um, it's pretty gross, swampy areas. And like when you're like fishing around for like trachees in the wild, I mean, some of them are straight up just buried in detritus. If you try to replicate that sort of thing in your home aquarium, that might go super poorly. Um, the most success that we ever have with them is in cleaner aquariums. Like when nitrates and stuff like that start to get out of control, that's typically when we start to see issues. I don't necessarily like to try to keep super low nutrient, but I think you're going to run into more issues at the fringes. So if your nitrates are above 50, you're probably going to struggle a little bit with trachees. If your nitrates are zero, you're going to pretty much struggle with trachees. Like they do need quite a bit, but it is something about aquariums where like high nitrate can cause like sudden collapses. Like I've had several like nice specimens that every now and again it's like half of it will just die overnight. And I kind of attribute that to like higher nutrients, like way elevated. But these days, I wonder if a lot of issues that people run into and sometimes that we bump into here is like more trace element related. For the longest time, I was kind of reluctant to get on this trace element bandwagon and just chasing numbers, and I still to a large degree don't chase numbers. But I think that there's a lot of biological processes that really do rely on trace elements, and when you bottom out of like a few critical ones, that's also when you might see like a colony just collapse. So very long-winded you know trachy coral care, but I think that's where I would start. um, I think another issue that people run into with trachees is just poor tank mate selection. They are highly delicious to a lot of fringe like fish, for example. So obviously, like angels are going to be nipping at trachees, but you might run into a situation where like a foxface might nip at a trachea, or even a particularly large tang might do it. In particular, I'm thinking about like our flamingi tang. Um, it could be just like food and feeding related in general, but what you run into is like that this very large fish tends to start to nip at large polyp stony corals. We've been trying to like feed extra and like hand feed that thing like sheets of nori just to kind of, placate its appetite. But at the same time, it's kind of got an appetite for or a taste for some of these large polyp stonies. So you might run into issues there. So you kind of have to select your tank mates a little bit more carefully because, like I said, a lot of things would probably love to take a bite out of a trachea. Hillbilly Reefer Than. Mike Pullett just released a vid about him switching to Abiz. I don't blame him. Abiz, in my opinion, is in a class by itself. There are other wonderful brands of pumps. But if you're asking like why isn't Abiz double the price of the next closest super high-end pump, let me just say that there is a difference. Is that difference going to make a huge impact on your life as a reef keeper? Possibly not. But for the people that are kind of like the Abiz customer, you know who you are. Like you don't need to be sold on it or anything like that. But they are so high quality, um, and it really only makes to me like I think that the typical Abiz buyer, um, they kind of like fall into like a couple of buckets. The first bucket is like a very very high end, relatively large reef aquarium that could be they could have like enough coral in it to basically pay for their whole house. Like my friend Nathan, for example, like his aquarium, if that thing ever went down, it would be like a catastrophic loss because there's so many super large, super cool colonies in there, right? I think his whole system might be like 900 gallons or something like that. Tons of corals. So like mission critical, big show tanks. On the other end of the spectrum, you have straight up public aquariums. Like Alex is always going to like these public aquariums because these a lot of public institutions are kind of not kind of they are straight up old school. Like some of them 100+ years old, and they've kind of like done it their way for a really long time, and they use these gigantic like multi horsepower AC pumps, and they're loud, they're inefficient, and a lot of public institutions are trying to make a push towards a lot more like energy efficient and more like sustainable practices. And Abiz is like 1/10 of the electricity that some of these larger pumps are cranking out. And also just like the noise pollution aspect. I mean, some of these like public aquariums, their mechanical room is practically like a ship's engine room, and you have to wear hearing protection and stuff. So there's like OSHA issues with some of these things. So he's always like dealing with those folks. And then I guess I'm kind of in the middle where, I've got like it's a big coral farm, but it's not that big. Uh, and I'm just at the cusp of where there are so many devices to keep my operations going that anywhere where I can make something more solid and less maintenance and less worry has like this multiplier effect because like I said, there's so many devices. There's so many points of potential failure. Anything you can do to try to eliminate those points of failure um, goes like a super long way, like in the day-to-day operations of a place. Like, there's not to, I mean, every pump can fail, right? And a lot of pumps just straight up do fail, even though they're high quality pumps. They're pumps, a lot of moving parts, blah blah blah, right? And Abiz is better, and because of that, I just have to worry about those less. And and it sounds crazy, but like if I could afford to outfit my entire place with the biz, I absolutely would, just for that peace of mind. There's just so much going on. Okay, next question. EIY Kumar is asking, can starfish be stung by bubble tip anemones? Yes. And seriously get injured? Probably not. Very unlikely. I mean, an anemone can just like crawl away. And bubble tips don't really have like the most aggressive sting in the world. I think the only times where I get messed up by bubble tips if it like gets me on like here, that sort of thing. Or like the web of your hand, like right here. Also, I've been doing this hobby for like a really long time. Been in this industry for so long. What tends to happen over the long term is you get more sensitive to stings. You get like more allergic to stuff. So I personally feel the impact of like coral and anemone stings, perhaps more than I used to when I was younger. And also just getting older in general. I think that you get less tough and tolerant for a lot of stuff. So like these days, like I might get stung by like a bubble tip and be like, man, that sucks. Because like scraping the glass or something, and you're trying to get in and around the bubble tips, and you end up with like all these like welts on your hand that last like a week and a half. But yeah, starfish, does it get stung? Everything stings each other. It's whether or not that matters or not. Probably not. Okay. Do you sell trachees on these live shows? Occasionally. It's not a coral that we really go after a lot. It's not something that's really something you can propagate. A lot of them come in very fragile. So it's kind of risky. I mean, I don't know if it's that bad, but they're not at a great price point right now either. Like for whatever reason, and it's probably just like overseas supply more than anything else, but they come in really pricey. They don't look that great, and like the prices that we would have to charge, it's like that kind of sucks. So rarely do we have like lots of trachees here. I mean, they're okay. They're okay, but I mean, and a lot can go wrong. Sometimes it can be sensitive, like I said, and occasionally. But like right this second, I don't think we have a trachea in this entire place. Like it's not like, oh, we're hoarding it. No, we're not. Like they're not here. Okay. Hillbilly Reefer. Paletta had 12 or so MPs of various sizes, and you replace it with just 2 Abiz. You can kind of get away with that. Flow is always like a tricky topic because like your flow needs they vary in like in time and space. Like as you are successful growing a reef in, your flow requirements change. Like the colonies themselves sometimes like sabotage their own success. SPS do it a ton. Sometimes you have like colonies that end up growing into like the heaviest water flow sections of a tank, and they just get stripped right out. Like that kind of happens occasionally here, especially if there's like a pump that has a ripping strong current at like one point. The second that like the little tips grow into that range, they just get stripped. But yeah, I mean, if like I would say that the strength of a biz really comes down to just like how bulletproof they are, and just how reliable they are. They've got cool controllability. It's not like glitzy. It's like it's very good industrial level control. So they have like a random function on it, and it's easy to set. That's kind of like what I like about it. You just set the absolute lowest you want the thing to run, so like maybe like 5%, and the absolute most you want it to run, 90%. And then you can set like how long you want it to stay at any given value. So 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is, right? 10 seconds. And it will just, cycle through a bunch of different intensities between like what you set it to, between 5% and 90%. And just keep it going. Keep the variable flow moving. And if you combine that with things like a VCA random flow generator, you can get all kinds of like crazy like variable flow, which is very neat. And it's all just kind of like powered off of a single pump. SUV porridge or SUV porridge. What coral do you have the most in your farm? It totally depends. Geez, I have no idea what we have the most of. Whenever we have too much of something, we try to fix that problem by like putting everything on special. So like occasionally, like, well, we'll look down and there's going to be like 10 trays of a particular Montipora. Like, okay, time for a sale. Time for a deep discount because this is going to grow out of control. The most recent thing that we had a ton of actually were copper tone hammers. It's like a high-end hammer, and I think that what had happened was one of the colonies in our Fimbria show tank basically split in half, and that half we fragged it all down, and it made like a sheet of hammerheads. And then like it's not that we just sell a ton of them all the time. So they grew. One thing that a lot of people don't quite understand is if you want coral to grow, give them just a little bit of space. And what'll happen is they will grow way faster because there might be like some kind of like gene shut off and stuff to tell heads that are in the center of a colony to not grow anymore. And so a lot of our Fimbria, especially in that show tank, were kind of just like locked up. But once we like fragged all the heads individually, gave them, like just a little bit of space, they all like tripled. So, what was once maybe like 100 to 150 heads. By the time that we last looked at it, was about like 500 heads. And retail, we can't move that many. So we had to like fire sale a lot of stuff to like distributor level stuff. And so this one particular distributor got like the deal of a lifetime for like 500 heads probably of that stuff. Now, I'm gonna like just put this out there now, but it's a little bit of a behind the scenes thing. But a lot of colonies are kind of like locked up in that tank right now because again, so much of it is just on top of one another, and there's very little rock showing, and it's a big tank. So what I think I'm going to be doing here soon is taking every bit of like Fimbria, like hammers and frog spawn out of there, fragging it all down, dipping it all, just to see how many heads we can get out of it. Because it's at the point where like that tank has like hit its absolute peak, and I would like to just restart it. It's kind of a shame because it's all so beautiful and all filled out. But luckily, guys, I have a YouTube channel, so I can just record the hell out of it right now, and I can enjoy it forever online. Because like I said, I think that once we're done fragging all this stuff up and just letting it grow in just a little bit, we're gonna have like thousands and thousands and thousands of heads of different types of hammers and frog spawn. And that's really what I'm looking forward to. Just completely go crazy with that. Because that is one of those things where people don't really do a lot of aquaculture around. I mean, it's a lot of large polyp stony corals tend to be more, I guess, like it's slower. So a lot of people just won't take the effort. They would rather have like fast growing, fast moving SPS. But I think the next stage is going to be a lot of like medium to fast growing branching stonies. And that is my sweet spot right now. Philip Fess. My first Acanthophyllia came from TG today. Indo Rainbow one. It's slowly opening up. Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that that arrived okay. I always get a little bit sketched out by shipping Acanthophyllia. Not just because it's a high price point coral, but because just by their very shape, like they have a kind of a spiny skeleton. They've got like, like delicate skin. So sometimes, the skeleton pokes out through the skin and that's to heal and whatnot. But no, I'm very happy to hear that it showed up okay. Reef with me. Hey everyone. Hello. Welcome. John Williams is asking, is it fair to say when you see a coral, you need to jump at it? I'm finding when I see a coral, it's hard to see it again. I'm just buying everything I like and see. I appreciate all the advice. I guess it depends on like where you are in the hobby. Obviously, I would encourage people to buy as much as possible. Um, I don't know. I tend to be just like as me as like a buyer, like where I'm at. I tend to be like ultra patient because we have so many corals that it really takes a lot to move the needle around here. So oftentimes like the guys would be like, hey, look, we just need to get certain ones just to like, like fill back up. But as far as like corals that really get me excited to add to the collection, it is just a handful all year. Fewer than 10 maybe. So yeah, it all depends. But I think like starting out, there's like an exuberance to get in and get a lot of coral. And even though this isn't really like part of your question, but there is a benefit to buying a lot of coral and putting it into your tank. I was never like hip to this thing for like the longest time, but like microbiome makes a big difference. And some of like the best microbiome that you can ever provide comes from coral. Like they are practically their own like packaged microbiome. It is like the perfect blend of bacteria and whatever else. They effectively are their own filters. So we have a system downstairs. It took us like forever. I mean, to set it up, and that's how I've always been. It's like, you know what? I'm willing to wait a year. I don't care. But like all like the nuisance algae and all that stuff, all the nonsense. At some point, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna like dump in tons of coral, and that overnight fixed everything. And I was just thinking, did I just like waste an entire year by trying to like do it like the slow and conservative way? Yes, I wasted an entire year doing that. So yeah, because like previously, people would be like, what, I don't want to add too much at once. That is a paradigm that applies to fish, that does not apply to corals. John is asking again. Watched your vid with those old school T5 lights, 4-bulb, and went and purchased one. My corals are okay, but they don't really grow. Do you have the same issue? Okay, it is not the lights. I promise you, whatever it is that is causing your corals to not grow, it is not because of T5 bulbs. Like T5s are redonkulously good. Enjoy them while they last. They are a technology that is quickly being abandoned. Diacanthus. Support Tidal Gardens by becoming a Patreon member here. Speaking of, I will get to that in just a sec. Reefability app. Thank you so much for the $3 super chat. Appreciate the support. It says here, let's celebrate their first super chat on a live stream. So guys, throw in a W in chat for the Reefability app. There you go. How about that for a plug? Okay, so Diacanthus, thank you for reminding me. I actually have to say my thank yous. Okay, we've got some corporate sponsors to thank. First off, Polyp Lab, longtime user of Polyp Lab's Reef Primer Dip, uh, also available in Tidal Gardens, so we can just throw that in the box. We've been using their food for quite a long time, the Reefroids. I've become friends with Phil from Polyp Lab. He's been on my podcast. He was actually the first guest on the podcast, so thank you very much to Polyp Lab. We have a new corporate sponsor. It should come as no surprise, but the guys at AluFab, you know, like all those lovely aquarium stands that we have downstairs, the vast majority of those come from AluFab. They are an Ohio-based company, so yeah, we've been dealing with them for years now. Excellent product, excellent service, and I am looking forward to doing much more in the realm of big collaborations with them, because when you have like a basically an adult erector set, there's so many things you can do with that. Like the possibilities are truly endless when it comes to that. So thank you so much to AluFab. Thank you to the folks on Patreon. So real quick, let's go down the list. Elaine Martinassi, Alan Jackson, Ann Lewis, Brandy Camp, Chuck Admire, Greg Zimmerman, Harkins Aquatics, Jordan Marty, Keith Singer, Lisa Clow, Lacry Fine Art, Lynn Holt, Miss Mandy, Puddle Aquatics, Reef Theory, Ryan Baker, Scott Williams, Skylar Korn, Sue Hemmons, Thomas Tarrant, and Tim Garner. And thank you, Kwang Lam, for the $3 super chat as well. Appreciate it so much for your support. W's in chat for Kwang Lam. On the YouTube member side, we have Philip Fess, who I saw earlier in chat, 3SXP, Mark Baumgartner, William Heitz, Carlos Fernandez, Steven13, Mike Downey, Keith Holland, Terry Kuhn, Herb777, Justin Harden, and lastly, Ohio Ventures. So thank you all so much. And thank you all for joining me and hanging out on a what is turning out to be a rainy weekend here. You could be watching college football, but you decided to come and hang out with me. So I appreciate it. Okay. Okay, Hillbilly. Throwing in the questions. I love it. I struggle with low nutrient. That's a bad struggle to have. I'm adding more fish for more feeding, thus producing more waste. Do you find having more or less fish beneficial one way or the other? I find it beneficial. At the same time, you want to be like conscientious about it. You don't want to just like overstock a tank for the sake of that. Because like with your current fish load, you could just feed more. Like one of the best things that we did here, and we're super late to certain parties, and we were late to the filter sock party. We're late to the filter roller party. Technically, we have filter rollers downstairs that I need to actually install and do content around, but I've never used a filter roller before. I am late to the auto feeders, guys. And one day it's like, you know what? We have all these like green chromis. I'm just gonna buy like this, $30, $40 unit from Eheim. It's like the battery operated guy, right? So good. Like, why doesn't it's $30. Like what? Let's say it's, for the sake of argument, let's say it's $40. I don't know what they are. It's so nice. It is so nice. And just having like a constant flow of food, just on schedule like that, it makes life so much easier. Particularly, one of the most stressful things that like impacts my mental health is seeing fish fight, and especially yellow tangs. And an auto feeder legit fixes all of it. Like, I mean, they're still jerks, right? It's a yellow tang. They're gonna be jerks. But the level of hostility when you kind of like take the edge off of that food requirement, boy, does that make a huge difference. And so for you, Hillbilly Reefer, if you are, you don't necessarily need to add more fish. Why don't you just like throw in an auto feeder just to always make sure that there's like nutrient going in? because like when you have like super low nutrient, that can get kind of scary. I would rather do that than like try to do something like nerfing your filtration and export and stuff. Like that is like sketch to me. I would rather filter very heavily and feed more, because you kind of get like the double bonus, right? You get an appropriately filtered aquarium, so you're not going to run into like, pollutant issues necessarily, but you're also you free up that headspace to be able to feed more. You drop the aggression level of your fish and everything like that. And especially with the auto feeders, it's like, um, I like the fact that it just kind of like keeps things consistent, because I think that we think that we're more consistent than we are. But just to have like this, basically this pacemaker of food going, and it's nice. Trent Eckler, first time customer, love the content. Thank you very much, Trent. I appreciate it. We try. We try. Philip, I went through depression this week because you guys didn't update Fire to the What You See Is What You Get page. We didn't? I think that we're trying to. Luckily, this entire show has got cool stuff for you. Let's see. More is definitely on the way. We've got some stuff coming through quarantine that'll be really, really interesting. Um, but we're always going to be looking to update that. I think that possibly like one of the guys called in sick on Friday, and he's the one that actually typically does the upload. So maybe that it might have something to do with it as well. John Williams, what reef glue do you recommend? Good question. We use the dollar store stuff. So you know what's weird? Glue really is different from one another. Like it can say like it's 100% cyanocrylate. It's all different. Like it's all really different. And I learned that when we were doing our video on aquascaping, and there's like different types of like liquid glue that we were using. And we settled on one particular glue because it was super strong. It also was kind of dangerous to work around. Like, uh, you needed to wear, like, we would wear like safety gloves. But if you got the glue on the safety gloves, it would turn that little bit of like fabric into lava. That was weird. I think it was also giving off like cyanide gas or something like really dangerous, because you needed to have your ventilation on point. Like that stuff was not playing around. We originally got it from Amazon, and I think Amazon was like, "Nope, we can't send this anymore. Like this can't even be sent through the mail anymore." That sort of thing. It was wild stuff. Clearly the best performing though, and that's what we used. Other types of glue just didn't bond well. And so some of these more premium glues might actually be better than the dollar store stuff. But so far, like the dollar store stuff has worked, and I like the fact that it is in like kind of like single use containers. So that's kind of what I go with. We shop at Dollar Tree. David E has a question not for me. Does anyone happen to know if Neptune is going to build EB832 connectivity into the Vortec pumps? No clue. Okay, first of all, we don't use Vortec pumps. Second of all, we barely use Neptune. We have Neptunes. I don't really know what they do right now for us. What do they do? I mean, at one time that we were running like the dosing system, but we go to the Ecotech doser now. We used to care about the probes. We don't anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Morgan Street, are you excited for your upcoming visit to London? I am. I'm looking forward to a lot, because there are like there's a lot of people that I want to see that I haven't seen in ages. I've only been to the UK twice ever. Once in high school and then once again in 2019. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. I mean, like Alex from Abiz is like flying in from Germany to come hang out with us. It'll be like a grand, grand time. We're also looking at doing like at least one day of fine dining, because like I live in Ohio. Let's just say that the Michelin Guide will never come to Ohio for any reason to evaluate our restaurants. So it's entirely possible that, there might be like a 1 or 2 star restaurant in town. I wouldn't know because they're never going to actually give anybody here a star. So when I travel to bigger cities, I do like to try to get like a nice restaurant on the schedule. We may or may not be able to get into like a 3 star restaurant because that's kind of like short notice for that sort of scheduling. But London's got like a ton of good restaurants, so I'm looking forward to that. Eheim auto feeders, and the new ones are Wi-Fi capable. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Like, I know that like everything these days wants to be an app. I know that everything wants to be like AI powered. Stop. Sometimes I just need to have something with a power switch and a dial. Like, we're good. I don't need to communicate with my auto feeder. Straight up. Like, maybe let me know that it's out of food by being empty when I look at it. Like, there's a lot of stuff is just too weird. And I'll give you a perfect example. See this phone? This is the new iPhone 16 Pro, right? I didn't need to upgrade, to be perfectly honest. I had a 12, and the only reason I updated it is because the 12 was the last one that they would accept in a trade-in. So I'm like, okay, I better trade this in before it's literally worthless next year. So I traded it in, got this guy. It's fine for most things. What it wasn't fine with was with some of these apps. So, for example, my cloud ceiling above my head that you guys can't see. But, if you dig around my channel, we've got a cloud ceiling in the studio. It's very cool. It requires Bluetooth connectivity to update. This app thinks that the Bluetooth on my phone is off. It is not off. So until this particular app updates for this brand newest of iPhones, I have to use like an older like something or the other to like do stuff with some of these lights. And like certain group controls for the lights didn't work out because, again, new phone, software issues. An auto feeder does not need a freaking app. You're fine, right? Speaking of stuff that may or may not need an app, Mobius. You know what? I love the guys at Ecotech and everything like that. But, Mobius has been like a wonky thing for like a very, very long time. And lo and behold, new iPhone, new wonkiness with Mobius. So I had some guests over. I had a high school reunion recently, and I had some guests over after the reunion to come hang out. And it turns out that, you know what? I don't have Mobius on my new iPhone. Here, I'll just act it out. I don't have Mobius on my new iPhone. So I quickly downloaded Mobius. Like, I had to remember my login, and it gave me like this weird error message. It's like, you know what? You have like a clock error, and I'm like, okay, cool. I have a clock error. It just says just tap here to fix it. The second I tapped that thing, I just heard what looked like, or what sounded like, a buzzsaw. I'm like, the hell is that? Because my place is quiet, you guys. I can diagnose issues when they occur. So when I fixed my clock error, what happened immediately was one of these Ecotech dosing pumps went berserk. Like, it started just like spinning full power. So it dosed like, I don't know, probably 10 gallons of calc real fast. And I did it again to like another one that was saying like, timing code error. I'm like, and then yet sure enough, another one of these things went crazy. So I'm like, okay, all right. Okay. I don't have time for this right now. So I just like ripped those like particular dosing heads off their power supply. I'm like, I'm going to deal with this app later. So long story short, guys, keep it simple. And by the way, I don't know how this works. So Reefability app, thank you so much for the 50 gifted TG memberships. I vaguely, guys, I vaguely know how it sort of works on Twitch. I am not on Twitch though. I mean, I have a Twitch account. I don't post on it. This is very generous. How does this work exactly? Can somebody explain? Like, because this is a new thing, I think. So are you guys like now, like, do you guys get like a month of like the behind the scenes like TG membership or something? Is that how that works? So I don't know. If you guys are like, very very YouTube chat savvy, please let me know. And thank you once again, Reefability app. That's very very cool of you. I know something very very cool happened. I just need to understand like the mechanism of what exactly happened. Reef Keeper, thanks for the gift. Yep. Okay, that's cool because Reef Keeper was not on the original list of. Oh my gosh, I'm not like. Oh my gosh. So later on this show, when I have to thank everybody that's a member, the list got 50 people longer. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yep, we're doing it. Yep, you get a month. After a month, it will ask us to renew. Okay, very cool. All right, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. So cool. It's going to take me a little bit of time to read off this list. Very funny. And very cool. Interesting. Okay. Learn something new every day. I figure that's kind of like how it worked. Like, because that's kind of how it works in Twitch. Methinks. Okay. So what else is going on? Doctor of Welsh Magic, evening. Good evening to you too. I'm guessing that you are possibly in the UK because it is still every bit of 2:36 p.m. here. Okay, so did I miss a question? I must have. Okay. Philip says, I got Ben trying to find a nice pumpkin acanthophyllia. My tank is reaching full stock list of coral on the sand. This would be my last. Okay, so you know what? There might be something coming up soon for you because I do remember having this conversation with him. And so this is something, Phil, to follow up with him on, okay? We have a pumpkin patch acanthophyllia. It is very large, but it was also one that we had taken in as a rescue probably like 4 or 5 months ago. And it's like absolutely rock solid stable. It's got very cool coloration and everything. But like I said, very large, and it's slightly weirdly shaped because when we acquired it, it was at a distributor, and it was like a total scratch and dent sort of thing. Like, they're like, do you want it? Because if we keep it here long term, it might just die. So I was like, you know what? Sure. And I don't even know why I took it at the time because it's like, this thing's gonna be like a pain in the butt to ship because it's so large and everything like that. But yeah, we were thinking about you because you did send an email asking about that pumpkin patch acanthophyllia, about one in general, and to keep an eye out. I'm like, actually, we have this one. We just have to be able to make sure we find like a bag big enough to actually ship it out. And I think that like Ben was concerned about its shape because it's not like a perfect circle. It's not gonna be, it did have like an initial die off like 5 months ago. But like I said, completely healed. It's doing really really well. But that's something that you might that I think that he'll follow up with you on. Reef Keeper, +1 for Dollar Tree extra thick super glue and yellow and green pack. Using it for years. Store clerk gives me a funny look every time I buy 30 packs. We just started getting it shipped. Like, it was possible to order it online, and Dollar Tree's website is beyond janky. Like they're not expecting people to go to their website or something. Like it doesn't work a lot of times. So sometimes like I have to like ask one of my employees, try to log in and buy this stuff because I can't do it. It breaks my browser. It breaks every browser. So it's funny, but I order like cases and cases and cases and cases and cases and cases and just have it shipped. Because actually going to the store and getting all that, it's such a bizarre experience. They're like, oh, it's you. Yes, because like they've never had to deal with that. It's like a year's worth of glue that we just go in there and buy. So yeah, we just have it shipped. Okay, so Philip, at what levels do you address higher nutrient? NO3 is at 20, fine, and PO4 is at zero point 0.2. Little high, but not anything that I would be concerned about. Like I think that a lot of times that the people that are super concerned with like elevated phosphate, you had better have like a really good reason. Like there are certain corals, and you know who you are if you have them, that might not take on peak coloration if there's a little bit too much phosphate in the water. Specifically like high-end Acropora and stuff like that. But zero point 0.2, man, I ain't stressing. Some people, like I heard, some people might be a little bit like skeeved out by that, but not me. Everything's looking great, but I'm doing some carbon. Oh, okay, you can stop with that. You might be doing way more aggressive than you need to be messing with by doing carbon dosing. Just saying, like a lot more can go wrong than can go right. Literally try to think about maybe like down the road upgrading your protein skimmer. Perhaps if you have filter socks, swapping them out more frequently. Um, Doing an additional water change. I would do all of those things before messing with uh, like the bacterial stuff like that. East Coast Reef, we're looking forward to meeting you in London, Than. Awesome. I'm very excited about going. Mainly, I need to get out of the house for just a little bit, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I need a vacation, which this is not. It is not a vacation, but it's close. Okay, catching back up. So David E is suggesting for Philip to use PhosRx. You can use Chemipure and aggressively use GFO. So GFO, we use it here. I really don't want to use it. Like, well, my issue with GFO is that it can overstrip the water. Specifically, you're stripping out trace elements, and when you bottom out certain trace elements, it goes bad. And to do that, to reduce phosphate, we've had some insane phosphate levels here. Like not 0.2, we've had like 2 parts per million, and things were fine. I mean, is it ever perfect? No, but it's not like if you strip out certain trace elements down to 0, you're gonna have a bad time. If you have like phosphate levels of like 2, might not necessarily have a bad time. Just saying. Than, if not Trident, do you have any automation around phosphate and nitrate testing? I've literally never found one that I'm super excited about. Haven't tried them all. Haven't tried. I haven't tried the CoralView one. I haven't tried the ReefBot one. I've tried Alcatronic. I've tried GHL. I've tried the Neptune one. Am I forgetting some of the others? So my issue is that it's like hobby grade stuff, and a lot of titration based stuff like that's automated. I mean, so much comes down to like calibration and maintenance and troubleshooting. And the reality of the situation here is that if something needs to be doted on to that degree, the first time it throws an error code is the last time it throws an error code. It'll never be looked at again. It'll never be trusted again. And that is an issue that's unique to this place. Like, if some people like have great success because they're able to like sit and just like, fiddle with one checker, or one automated checker, but we don't, and we would need like 10 of them, and there's no way we're going to keep 10 of them calibrated. Like, ain't happening. Dr. Walsh Magic. It's 7:36 p.m. here in yes, UK. I'm guessing Wales, to be precise, the prettiest part of the UK. Nice. Fish Ventura, Sunburst Microgani is sweet. And you know what? They're easy to take care of too. Like, we actively farm those things like crazy. And I'm super happy to that we are able to do that, because like for the longest time, Goniopora wasn't something that you could really like propagate long term. Nowadays you can. It's still kind of tricky for some. Like, some of them just don't grow quite fast enough for our liking. Like, I would love to be growing amaze balls and glitter bombs. And guys, we just got the coolest red glitter bomb. It's like, first of all, it's red. It is a glitter bomb, Goniopora, but then it has like banding, like red highlighter banding around it. It's so cool. It's currently in quarantine right now. Love to like get that propagating. David E, I never see yellow candy corns in your site. Are you angry with them, or the color yellow perhaps? Yellow candy corns. Okay, elaborate for me, David. What are the yellow is that the chalice, like the candy corn chalice? Because we definitely should have those. Or are you thinking of a completely different coral entirely? Like yellow polyps? Okay. Eric Gans, what is a coming trend that you can see? What's going up in cost and value? Something is always going to be trendy, right? That is always a thing that's hard to predict. Like, the stuff I think is cool never really gets trendy. Like, Pectinia are very cool. Not that trendy. I think, like right now, what is surprisingly on point and trendy is a lot of like the fungids, a lot of like the really cool rainbow diaceras and stuff like that. Really, really, really awesome stuff there. But one trend that I think you're going to see is going to be less import over time. It is more difficult for like wholesalers and importers to get cool stuff in, assuming you're not black market poaching stuff, which can happen. But generally speaking, we like to try to stay legal around here. And yeah, but I think it's certainly getting more difficult. It's really difficult to get good Recordia because it all kind of died. So if there are like good sources of like aquacultured Recordia, worth its weight in gold at this point. Ellery says all hobby grade automation will have their own issues over time. In fairness, all professional grade automation has their own issues over time. Like, we're kind of shielded from this because of like nobody really has like an ICP machine sitting at home. An ICP machine is like the finickiest thing ever. That thing is barely holding on. It's like owning a Ferrari F50 or like an Enzo. Like, imagine like owning a Ferrari Enzo as your daily driver. You know what that thing's gonna do? Break all the time, right? And all your replacement parts are super expensive and have to come from Germany. And you're going to be like 6 months, and like more stuff is going to break in that time just because it was sitting unused. It's going to be like a problem, right? That is like an ICP machine. They're so finicky. Like I was kind of like doing some background like research into them just to kind of like understand what's going on. You know that the P in ICP stands for plasma. Like you're basically firing up a small little sun in this box and blasting electrons off of a water sample. And based on like the light that comes off of like you basically trying to like strip electrons and stuff off of molecules and atoms, based on the light that produces, you can get some kind of characterization of what those compounds were. Yeah, and certain ones it doesn't like really like to do. So there's an entire list of things that you kind of have to do like a very specific sample preparation to even get values. And there's like certain atoms that it just does not play well with, like fluorine, for example. Very, very challenging for ICP to pick up fluorine. So sometimes you have to use like a different technology altogether, like tandem mass spec or something like that. But I mean, it's not just the hobby based stuff that's like, oh, this is really unreliable and finicky. Yeah, the professional stuff. It's got some issues too, bud. I have the KH Guardian, I'm guessing, Reefbot Lab. They work when they work, but you better keep up on maintenance. Yep, that is true. Philip, thanks, Dan. I'll follow up with Ben, but it might be too big a pumpkin. Looking for 4 to 6. It might be bigger than 6. Um, for slow growth and time before I upgrade. So here's the thing: like, Acanthophyllia don't really grow that big. Don't grow fast. Like the size that you get it is kind of the size. And yes, I can try a bigger skimmer. I do ICP, funny, once a month, and moonshine with great results. Chato in the past stripped PO4 totally. Yeah, I can do that. And I fear GFO for stripping traces. GFO will strip traces. That is some basic physics and chemistry for you right there. It will do it very well. In fact, it'll do it in minutes. Is there such a thing as a totally yellow or mostly totally yellow Scully? I'd love one of those. I have not seen one. I have not seen one. Not that it doesn't exist, but it also might be like a very disappointing yellow. But I haven't seen like a canary yellow thing. There's very few canary yellow corals. It might be like brown mustard, like stadium mustard colored. Maybe. Does that count as yellow? I meant candy cane corals. Okay, LPS fleshy trumpets. You always have kryptonite and I think sometimes blue, but yellow. Yellow candy cane? I don't think that's a thing. Um, I'm gonna do a quick Google search real fast. Yellow. It's not a thing. Plates are fired by Diablo Dice here. Some TG came in 1.5 months ago. It's the size of a gold dollar. My TG plates grow fast, and this Diablo is having color everywhere. It is one of the coolest corals we have. Like, there are like, so there's a lot of corals that are like the Diablo Diaceras. A lot of them are like 2 colors, which, it's fine. It's fine. Because it's not like crazy expensive. Ours are crazy expensive because they've got like 5 colors. That is very uncommon. And I paid a ginormous fortune for that thing. A ginormous fortune. Well above retail, let's just say. I think I paid $800 for it or something like that. And so we sell them for less than 800. So you were getting a good deal because they're able to propagate. Reef Keeper. Than, do you ever have a random branch in the middle of a red dragon colony strip? Every time mine gets really big, I randomly lose a little bit in the center. I'm guessing from lack of flow as it gets crowded. It could be a matter of flow, and it could be a matter of like stuff settling, because like red dragon, the way that it branches, it's basically like a bottle brush. It it's going to collect a lot of stuff. And in a lower flow area, like the inside of a colony, it's going to grab onto something. It could just be even like a hair, and it can't get rid of it. It's just kind of like stuck in there, and that could cause a die off. Eric Gantz, the new Hydros line looks promising. Um, I feel bad because I think that it very well might. We're just so like we just have tried so many different controllers, and not even like necessarily the auto tester part, just controllers in general. Um, that for us, we typically don't get super excited about stuff anymore like that. And it might be like the best thing ever. And I feel bad because like CoralView, they wanted to like get it into my hands at one point, and they were like, like we'll come over, we'll set it up, we'll show you. And I'm like, you're absolutely welcome to come over. I would love to host you guys. We can talk about all these things. And then I just said, but listen, we're the worst people to advocate for your product. Like straight up. Like I'm not going to say, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear so I can get like free stuff from you. We're the worst when it comes to automation. And so they're like, okay, we understand. I was like, but like I said, you're welcome to come over. We will do the product demo and everything like that. I'm just saying, as a use case in this coral farm, it's a tougher sell, and I hate to waste people's time like going into stuff like that. So I give them like the full rundown first. Like for whatever influence we have, we do not have it for like the controller market. We just don't. You should not listen to us for the controller market. Not until I mean, if like the Abiz of controllers comes out and we're like, oh, geez, that's it. That's the one. Then we will like, sing all the praises, right? But until like something like that even remotely comes to fruition, which what's even close, right? Um, until that time comes, we'll be the latest adopter. We're late, like I said, we're late to many parties. We will be super late to that one. Dalton Roland, I just got the Magician Zoanthids. They're so pretty. They're awesome. I love their size. I love their pattern. They've got good growth rate. One of the coolest ones we have. I mean, it might not be like the most expensive or most desirable, but it's one of my personal favorites, and it's been one of my personal favorites for a while. Kryptonite candy canes look yellow to some people. Okay, fair. I would say that looks very green to me. Not so much yellow. Ben said outlandish, but ginormous sounds good too. It's big. I mean, it's the biggest Canthophylla we have here, that's for sure. Okay, David E says, Philip, I recommend lettuce algae over chaeto. It does not need to be tumbled and just needs access to light. So, you'll see different opinions on lettuce algae, which is alva. The issue that people have with alva is sometimes it can go crazy in an aquarium. Um, if you're able to keep it out of your display, sure. But I mean, you can manage it though. Like we manage it with specifically tuxedo urchins. Tangs actually love to eat it until the tangs get older, and like they just get persnickety in their old age and they stop like doing their jobs. Like our tangs, like our SPS show tank used to have like tons and tons and tons of alva, and like all of our we had a lot of herbivores. We had like three different fox faces, probably like a half dozen tangs in there. No, we had a half dozen like yellow tangs in there, and then like a handful of other tangs. And you know what happened? They all stopped eating it. They just got bored of like the lettuce. So the lettuce was kind of like growing and growing and growing, and at the same time, our population of like of snails was going down because we've got a copper band and he likes to bite their little snail faces. Super helpful. So eventually we went to these urchins, and those things just like Brillo padded all the rocks completely clean. So you can manage it, but sometimes people think that's a little bit too invasive, which I can see too. Fun fact, it's also a delicacy in some restaurants. I have not tried it. I bet it's delicious though. Not from my aquarium. It's probably extremely gross coming out of my aquarium, but there are like, restaurants in like in Okinawa, and they will serve you calerpa. It's delicious. Would I eat calerpa out of my tank? Hell no. Hell no. Okay. Diacanthus Reef, thank you for putting in the live sale link. I appreciate that. Good looking out. Oh, I mean the price you paid for the Diablo was outlandish. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's like I paid well above the retail price because I needed to like. And the thing is, you might be able to get away with like buying like a red and purple one, and it just develops other colors because it's genetic, it's in there. But I'm like, no, I need to make sure if I'm gonna like go through the whole hassle of trying to take this thing home from a trade show, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that it's all in there on day one. And sure enough, it is. Sure enough, it is. Let me check on one thing real quick, Diacanthus. I wonder if the shipping had gone up by $5. No, you're good. You know what's funny is I don't know how much we charge for shipping. Like I think at one time it might have been $29.99, but I think we had to raise it to like $34.99. By the way, um, that's a steal. The cost to actually ship a box is quite a lot more than $34.99. And it's definitely a lot more than free, which you will get if you get to the $275 threshold. So for you guys shopping at home, the best deal, the best discount is to get to free shipping because shipping is no joke. I don't want to talk too much about shipping because it's just like depressing, but yeah, UPS ain't cheap. Tenet Pet, hello from New York. Hi, welcome. Glad you could join. Reef Keeper, Than, are you using the Camoir for the calcium reactor? No. I just retired mine for the Hydro Soul. I think it's going to be amazing. Too soon to know. It's definitely quieter and built really well. So I'm not quite sure what started the whole trend of using peristaltic pumps for calcium reactors. Um, I don't think it works as well as just pumping it, like with like a little Sicce pump. I think that we're using like little Sicce 1.5s, and for us, it's been like way nicer. Uh, there's no like um, tube replacement. There's no noise. I mean, like the energy related is like nothing on either one. I don't think. Uh, it doesn't take up any space on a counter. It never loses prime. I mean, it's just like thing after thing after thing. Like why did the whole peristaltic thing ever take off? I'm genuinely baffled because I don't think it's good. Philip, yeah, 1666 Saturday shipping is a steal. Get weekend coral, don't have to take time from work. It is nice. I'm always scared of like Saturday delivery because specifically if there's a delay, it gets delayed. And I guess this is also like a Friday delivery worry. If there's a delay, it like gets delayed all the way till Monday. We package in such a way that there's a chance that the corals are going to survive, even that. But it's not something that we like to push. Greg Best, hello from Dallas. Still freaking hot here. It's Dallas. Like, when is it not hot? Like, whenever I'm there for Aquashella, I am dressed like this, and it is 90 degrees outside. And I know what I'm getting myself into. I signed up for this. David E. What do excess people replace T5s with? I see they're becoming more and more sparse and LED is taking over. But what light are closest to T5s? Probably not going to love the answer, but like a lot of LED. Because the best selling point for me for T5s is how even the spread is, especially once you start factoring in like quality reflectors. Like a high quality T5 reflector will have some kind of like parabolic thing going on. And when you look at it, it'll be like a single bulb that's actually firing. But when you kind of like look underneath, it looks like there's 10 bulbs because of like how good that reflector is. And it's sending in all this light at all these crazy angles. And the light is diffused over the entire length of that bulb. And so you get this ultra smooth, ultra like massaged in light to your coral. And you know, a lot of people consider the ATI Blue Plus to be like the greatest T5 bulb ever created. It has like the best spectrum ever. And you mix in like a couple other ones, maybe some True Actinic, maybe you want some Aqua Blue Special for a little bit more daylighty colors, that sort of thing. Sure, go crazy. But the evenness of the coverage is where T5 really, pun intended, shines. To replicate that with LED, you'll never really get there. Like spectrum wise, T5 is better. It for coral health might not matter as much, but for like photography, T5 dumpsters all these LED fixtures, just dumpsters them. But the biggest problem with LED is like the coverage. Because, you know, like people will say like, oh, I've got like a single fixture and it has like this spread. It can cover a 30 inch by 30 inch spread. No, it can't. No, it can't. Because the second that you get a shadow, you get zero light. Zero. And they're so directional. And they're so like punchy and kind of like laser focused, and there's no reflective optics really. It's not super great. How do we get past that here? We use like triple the number of fixtures that you would normally need to cover all the different angles. So you go from what is an inexpensive T5 fixture to 3 very expensive LED fixtures. LED fixtures don't have to be expensive. The Amazon Black Box Special, the Vipar Spectra, we use them in the greenhouse. They work fine. You're going to lose some of like the easy controllability of them. Not the end of the world. It can work. Are they good for photography? Don't know. We've never tried, I don't think. But to answer your question, you might not be able to replicate spectrum. You might be able to replicate spread to some degree by just adding a lot more fixtures. Side benefit to running more fixtures is that you can run them at a much lower power, and that solves 2 issues. One of which is just like your cost to operate the lights, right? Electrical consumption. But the other thing is like a lot of these lights, I mean, LEDs don't like to get heated up. And so for all the you folks out there that are running your lights at like 100%, that's very bad for the fixture. That's very, very bad for the LEDs. So I've noticed that like just by running more lights at a much lower power solves a lot of issues. But again, like maybe I'm out of touch because a lot of people can't afford a lot. I mean, lights are expensive, and doubling or tripling the number of fixtures, I don't know, you might have a spouse or two that might have a problem with that. Like you're your own spouse, like in your own head at that point. You're like, do we really need to do this? Yeah. Eric Gantz, I can't get away from our metal halide lighting. It's pretty good. Can't find an LED to match the growth rate and color. It's different stuff. It's different. But I mean, you also kind of have to set your expectations too. Like, what is really important? Like here, you would think that I would care about growth rate. I don't. I really don't. There's like 3 corals that I would like to have grow faster. There's 2 different Goniopora, and a third might be like another Goniopora. Like there's not a lot of corals here where I'm like, man, I wish I could upgrade my lights to get like faster growth out of this entire farm. No, I don't want faster growth out of this entire farm. There's a lot of corals that are like growing so fast that they're practically a liability. Okay. So growth rate, don't care. And you know what? That should be doubly so for you guys. Let's say you have a 120-gallon tank. That's pretty generous, right? Most people like are even going towards like smaller aquariums these days. But the idea that, oh, I want to get fast growing corals to fill out the space, be careful what you wish for. Like, we don't have a lot of tanks smaller than 120 gallons, and we've grown some corals here that would fill like a single frag, would have filled that entire thing, edge to edge, like straight up, like a chalice, would have gone like the entire, all 4 corners sealed up with just growth. So careful. Color, legit, but just having experience with like most things around here, any decent fixture is going to get you pretty good color. Like, I don't think that too many people are going to come in here and be like, you know what, your color sucks. It don't. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. You can get great color. An Ecotech Radion Gen 5 can color up corals just... You're good. You're good. It's fine. A Vipar Spectra might be able to color up corals just fine, I think. Like whatever issues I might be having with those corals in that tank, I don't think it's light related. It's probably like those dinos that killed a bunch of stuff, or something. It'll be. I don't worry about lighting when it comes to that. Oh no, Mark Jarvis said the live show video looks good, but the photos aren't matching the description on your website. Huh. That's weird. Sorted price high to low, and at least half on the first page of incorrect photos. Do they really? Let me see here. That's whack. Let's see. I wonder if it's a sort thing. Okay, because I'm like looking at this so far. Okay, I've just gone through the first dozen or so. It's correct. Okay, I'm up to 33, correct. Is it like not lining up to to the video, or if I like click into, let's say number 4, no, 48 is correct. Okay. Okay, so you said that there was an issue with sorting high to low. I am unable to replicate your issue. Who said that? Mark. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Everything on my screen looks correct, however, so far. Sort low to high. I apologize. Switch browsers and it's fine now. Yeah, I was like, I think we're good. I mean, not that not that we're perfect. Goofy stuff happens all the time. I'm just saying, we've done this a lot for a really long time, so that would be a bizarre mistake to have happen. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. Randy C. Hello from Palm Springs, California. Shipping out here to the desert. Any concerns? Kinda. So, like, we can ship with cold packs and stuff like that. So, for the folks out there, like, how does shipping work? It's an art, practically. It's an art and a science here. So, we check our temperature here. We check the temperature at the most likely hub, being Lexington, Kentucky. And then we check the destination temperature. If there is like crazy like cold or heat, there's cold packs, there's heat packs. The most difficult thing for us to deal with is if it is like 30 degrees here and I'm shipping to someplace mega tropical like Puerto Rico and it is like 86 there. Okay, what do I do about that? Because I have to like get it out of here, okay? Will it be okay without a heat pack? Because I also don't want this thing cooking on the way to a 90-degree area, right? The next day. So, sometimes we'll like put in a heat pack that's kind of like designed to expire, before, so like it gets hot, then it kind of like the reaction shuts down and then it gets to that hot place. And hopefully it doesn't overheat, right? Because overheating is bad. Chili, things can survive chili, but like overheating is really bad. But like right now, it's kind of like it's getting chillier just this past week, but it's possible to throw in a cool pack and then have it show up just fine. Or in many cases, just because like the insulating value of like the container that we're sending it in, it might not need anything coming out of here in order to arrive there okay. Generally speaking, California is not a place that we worry about heat issues with. It's like New Mexico, Arizona, places like that. That's like warmer. Lost camera finally. Uh. Like I said, like so early when we started the stream, I said, this face camera thing might drop off at some point because for whatever reason, this particular capture card has been acting squirrely. It might just be dust bunnies living inside my computer, like port. That's possible. I've got like one of those like USB-C Thunderbolt things. I have cats also, and things get dusty. So it could just be that. It could be the cord. It could be the capture card itself. Long story short, it does dip out on me occasionally. Okay, so before I forget, because I think that we're going to be going to like to 200 and something number of corals, low 200s maybe. I should say my quick thank yous. So real quick, this ain't gonna be quick. Who am I kidding? Think up questions, because this will, if anybody in chat has got a question, now's the time to verbalize it, because this is gonna take me a little bit to get through all the thank yous. Okay, thank you to the 2 corporate sponsors. We have Alufab, new to the corporate sponsorship family. They make our aluminum stands downstairs. Awesome company to deal with. They're an Ohio company. Love those guys. We have Polyp Lab from the Montreal. Love their stuff. Been using their product for decades practically. They've been a sponsor of Tidal Gardens for quite some time. So thank you very much to Phil and Polyp Lab. Real quick, the Patreon members. These are the Patreon donors: Elaine Martinassi, Alan Jackson, Ann Lewis, Brandy Camp, Chuck Admire, Greg Zimmerman, Harkins Aquatics, Jordan Marty, Keith Singer, Lisa Clow, Lacry Fine Art, Lynn Holt, Miss Mandy, Puddle Aquatics, Reef Theory, Ryan Baker, Scott Williams, Skylar Korn, Sue Hemmons, Thomas Tarrant, and Tim Garner. And let's see if this thing updated. Yep. Okay, so earlier we had a big gift of subs. We had 50 memberships given out by the Reef Ability app. So thank you very much. Now I have to okay, I'll go away, please. Please. Top chat. Nope. Live chat. Okay. Now I have to read off all the names real quick. Oh gosh. All right. Jordan M. Life and Love Handmade. David Williams. Slade Starfire. Bob Purcell. Mark Death Painter something. It went ... on me. I'm sorry, Mark. Death Painter. Your name is too large for me to read. Oh no. Okay. I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Anjan Nia Hakim. I'm so sorry. And then the worst is like this person didn't sign up for this. They were gifted this. Otto, Pouches, Night Gaming, The Butcher 1349, Leopolis, Carol, Ryan M, Trace Bruce, Micah or Micha, Thomas McClay, Gene L, Beyond, Wicked Scuba, Joffe Peters, Dominic Fernandez, Reef Keeper, Mr. Backhand, hilarious, Brandon, Jaded Producer, Peter, oh no, Dezic, Dziedzic. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. John May, Wayne Prescott, Scuba Steve O's. Okay, you got cut off too. Mason, Jonas Jordan, Adam Green, Charles McGahee, Taras. Oh gosh, these names: ChupryNka. Oh, Chaprikna. Fish Ventura, R. Badred, All Things Flying, Steve Silva, Tiny Wee Gnome 36, Brandon Go, Nick S, David Mendoza, Osyen Lo Wang, Cali Reef Life, Lawrence, Gold Mask from Des got cut off, Victor Del Valle, Chris Diaz, Arrow. We got more to go, guys. Philip Fess, 3SXP, Mark Baumgartner, William Heights, Carlos Fernandez, Steven13, Mike Downey, Keith Holland, Terry Kuhn, Herb77, 7, Justin Harden, and lastly, Ohio Ventures. Thank you all very much. I was not expecting to have to read off that many names on the YouTube member list. So thanks again to the Reef Ability app for all the memberships. Okay. Philip, how many employees do you actually have at TG? I only know of you and Ben. Are there other customer service reps? I'm afraid to end my massive email thread with Ben. So there are 6 full-time staff in total, and that includes myself. So there is Ben, who's kind of like the general manager. There's Luke, who I guess is the other manager. We don't really have like great titles here. Who else is there? All 6. I can't remember us all. Becca, she's the media exec. She does all the medias, right? And then there is like the 2 guys that do kind of overlapping stuff, but kind of different stuff. So we have Stu, and he does like most of the propagation type stuff and some maintenance. And we have Dana, and he does like a lot of the kind of crafty, projecty type stuff. A lot of like a combination of like carpentry and handyman stuff, as well as some husbandry and maintenance also. So we all kind of have some shared stuff, but also kind of like areas of specialty. Like for example, I do siphoning here quite a bit. Now, I think it's actually like a bad use of my time. Like on paper, it is a bad use of my time to be doing tank siphoning. Like my time is kind of valuable. I shouldn't be doing this, but there's a huge difference when I siphon versus when anybody else siphons. There just is. Like I'm way more detailed about it than anybody else here. Fight me, rest of the staff, right? It's just the truth. But sometimes I need to do something brainless, and that really connects me to the aquariums because I see so much by detail siphoning and scraping tanks. And like when I'm able to do that activity more, the tanks are just straight up better. So there's always like some of this overlap going on. Like Luke and Ben, like the 2 managers, their hands are constantly in the water. I mean, like Luke tends to do a little bit more on the chemistry side. Ben does a little bit more in terms of like shipping and like more like the customer relationship type stuff. He's more into that. But people do like all these different activities. I think the only person that doesn't get her hands in the tank a ton is probably Becca, but even like she had an entire YouTube series about her aquarium for 2 years. Like that's a lot. And so now she's able to like set up her own corals and stuff like that, and coordinate with like the guys as far as like that stuff goes. So a little bit of everything. Blizz Kesta, any advice on reviving a dying elegance? Got mine from an uncle, but it's on its way out. Closed up and never opened again. Lots of exposed skeleton with a little bit of meat in the middle. Not a great prognosis, but you want to stop the infection. Consider some diluted iodine bath. Consider something that's antibacterial like Reef Primer. But right now, probably the infection is what's going to kill it. Follow up. Do all your employees enjoy reefing? I bet none of them enjoy reefing. Maybe Luke enjoys reefing. Like he's got an aquarium, and he likes to like sell coral on the side from his frag tank. Maybe it's just a frag tank. I don't even know if it's like an actual show tank. I have no idea. Dana, I don't know if he has a tank. I don't think Stu has a tank. Ben used to have like 19 tanks, and he hasn't had a tank in ages. Becca is definitely not a hobbyist. Um, and I don't have a tank. So, but also, like, are tanks missing from our lives? No. Like, we spend 8 hours a day here, uh, largely looking after tanks. I mean, like, does Becca, who does not have a tank and is not in the hobby, does she not get enough? She shoots 10,000 photos of corals a month. She gets enough of this hobby. So it's funny. Like, are we hobbyists? On one end, like, we're like the hardest core hobbyists in the history of this hobby. You know. On the other hand, it's like, do we do this stuff for fun? Not as much. Not as much. David Mendoza, we sure got a nice gift. Thank you, Reefability. The gift brought me here. Awesome. I'm just glad that, like, that's a functionality thing that was introduced into like the live chat community of YouTube, because it's like one area that I thought that YouTube just kind of like slipped on, and they just let it go to Twitch entirely. So it's nice that they're slowly incorporating like some of the features that Twitch had that are very cool. It's good for, community building and whatnot. Kristen AQ, question if it's possible to ask. It is possible. What light do you recommend for standard? Oh, goodness. Okay, standard Aqueon 75-gallon mixed tank. I have a Coral Life bar. Currently want to upgrade. Okay, let's see. What even is that tank? I'm unfamiliar with it. I'm like looking just for dimensions. Aqueon 75-gallon. Dimensions. Roughly 48 by 19, give or take. So a couple of things you can try. You can do like two like puck based lights. So that would be either like an Ecotech Radion, and you need two of them. That's going to be pricey. You could do the Amazon special. You can get Vipar Spectras, two of them. You could also, I mean, if it kind of like depends on your rockscape. Maybe you've just got like a central structure, one light, but maybe get like an accent bar of some kind, like what are those things called? AI blades, something along those lines. Maybe an Orphic bar or something. Like the thing that you maybe you use your existing light as the accent bar, and then you're just adding to that by like hanging down some additional fixtures. Maybe you can hang a Kessel, something along those lines. A lot of it is budget related though. Like, you can go crazy with budget, or you can go like pretty low budget. But if you had just to pick one light fixture, I would probably get the largest, what'd you call it? Probably the largest Vipar Spectra. Like, dollar for dollar might be the best. And it's kind of a shame that I think that Amazon Prime Day was already like this past week and it's over. Let me see if I can even find it. Hello. Is it a Vipar Spectra or is it this other company? It might be this other company. Here we go. Maybe. Okay, so technically, guys, this is not a Vipar Spectra. I'm going to go ahead and guess it might be from like the same factory. But okay, so the reason why I just like I linked this Amazon affiliate link, support the channel if you happen to buy anything from Amazon. So technically I've never used this light. I'm sure it's probably fine. This guy is roughly 28 inches. That can probably give you decent coverage. And if you got two of them, that's still only like 400 bucks, which is not bad considering that there are much smaller, much more expensive lights out there. Uh, will it grow coral? Yeah, probably. Philip, yeah, that's a good point. This is my hobby. I wouldn't want to do this for a job at all. So, like for example, I have very few hobbies left because I, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, a lot of it just gets monetized. So, I've been doing this for like close to 40 years now, something like that, 30 something years. My relationship to the hobby changes over time, and I'm not talking about just, oh, now that I'm in like the business of it, that was like the deciding point. Not so much. I mean, I still do a lot of stuff here that is kind of like putting on like the hobbyist hat, so to speak. That's not purely profit related. There's definitely a lot of stuff here that we do that I do that's not hobby related. Um, Real quick before I launch into that, Fish Ventura, 9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. W's in chat for Fish Ventura. Enjoy your travel, sir. I will certainly try. Very much looking forward to heading off to the UK, meeting up with some of the folks there. It's going to be a good time. But going back to my story about like the whole relationship to the hobby, like it kind of like waxes and wanes, but you also get it into other things entirely. Like I got into photography. Uh, I got one of like the first digital cameras ever made, like the ones with like the floppy disk, like the 3.5-inch floppy. And that's how like that whole thing got started when like nobody back then could take a photo that wasn't film. uh, but then like the interest even in that hobby waned and it's become like a professional thing. And really a lot of like stills I don't take. Like Becca takes the stills, and before Becca, Ben took the stills. I mean, I'm a good 10 years plus removed from like being a photography hobbyist. I got into videography. These days it's kind of like pulling teeth for me to like hit record on a video camera, and we have like three professional cinema cameras here now, one of which is pointed at me. um, so there's that. What else did I get into and out of? Like lots of different stuff. And right now I'm like into like system design and things of that sort. But one thing that I wanted to do and to not monetize was like the men's fashion stuff. I love this stuff, right? And is it a shtick? No, it is literally a hobby that I love, and I know enough and have enough cool articles of clothing to do an entire men's fashion channel for like classic men's style. Okay. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it because there are some things that just need to be hobbies that don't have to make financial sense, don't have to have a return on investment in mind. It is something you just do for fun. And largely the stuff that's connected to the reef aquarium hobby, a lot of that stuff, it's definitely gone into the make money, make it make sense financially, entrepreneurially make sense bucket. And I don't want this particular thing to be influenced by that. I want it just to be a dumb, whimsical thing that I do because I like it. Imagine that. Rodney Marks, watermelon chalice. Thank you. Um, Watermelon chalice. I think it's on the live sale, right? It wouldn't surprise me if it was. Philip says, real happy with two Kessel A360Xs with the 55-degree reflectors on a 60 display. Kessels are cool. Gosh. Well, okay. I am friends with their rep that is always at the trade shows. Wendy Wilson. I'm friends with her husband too, who works at the CJ booth. I like their product. We use them here and there at this facility. They're a big lighting company though, and they act like it in that they make it difficult to just buy stuff from them sometimes. I'm like, why is it so hard? Because like one time, public aquariums actually have like, there's like a public aquarium line of Kessel. And I wanted to buy some of those for something here. I forget. I was price checking on something, right? I just wanted to get some price checks. They asked me like all these questions. It's like, no, we need to design this light system. Oh, I'm like, actually, it's going on in a greenhouse. Double, actually, it's like just going to be illuminating like a 300-gallon Rubbermaid stock tank. You don't really need to like overthink this. I might need like 4 of them, just cause. Can you give me a price? And they're like, well, we need drawings and stuff because we want to make sure that like fine. So I sent them the drawings of the Rubbermaid stock tanks, and you know what happened? Nothing at all happened. Like the communication just stopped. Like, I did your dumb drawings. All I wanted was a price to buy what it is you sell. This doesn't seem to have to be this difficult. Sale just didn't happen. So very, very strange to have to deal with them, like I guess on like a B2B basis. But I have to say that their lights are phenomenal. Like I think that they like soak their chipsets in silicone. And so, guys, they will never tell you this, but I have dunked their lights in salt water. And by dunk, I mean it like fell in because, reasons. It fell into the water. And these lights still work like right now. Like they are on and shining right now. Like we rinsed them off and there's like no corrosion on the inside. Like that's crazy, right? Every other light's dead. Not that light. Very impressive. I just wish you would sell me lights occasionally. And it's not just like, oh no, you're not set up for wholesale. I am set up for wholesale. I'm a past customer, and it's just pulling teeth every single time. Big companies. Anyway, I'm happy that you're happy with your A360Xs. Let's see. Tony Lopez. I do drone videos. Funny you mentioned that. I just had to update my FAA thing for my drone, which is like super old, and I haven't flown it in like 5 years. Cynochus 2012. Okay, about that. For men, braces, buttons, or metal clamps. Okay. So I'm fine with buttons. So he's basically talking about like what keeps your pants up. So the metal clamps, like they are for some reason my custom clothier struggles with those. It's the weirdest thing. Like why does everybody else do this and like the ones that I get from you just don't seem to work. Like there's side adjusters that go on your hip. Like the fabric, like this type of fabric, it's like a very high quality wool, and it has like a slipperiness to it, so it doesn't like the side adjusters don't like grip it very well. Maybe it needs to, I don't know. And braces, which are like the suspenders, technically should be the best. I find it aggravating for my shoulders, but the very good argument as to why like suspenders are like the best thing ever is that if your pants have to always like grip onto your hips to stay up, that immediately causes an issue when you sit down and when you eat, because like your waist kind of like fluctuates there. So either it's going to be like too tight to stay where it is, or vice versa. It'll be loose enough when you sit and eat, but when you stand, it won't be loose enough. So when you take that element off and just have a slightly roomier waist, you can have bracers or braces, suspenders, and that like has like a more like elegant look on your leg and everything like that. The only problem is it does aggravate my shoulders. Anyway, thanks for the men's style question. Okay, Michael West, TG customer question. I bought a Jello shot and a Christmas tree from TG a couple weeks ago. Christmas color great. Jello shot turned purple with neon under tips under lighting. Any recommendations? Okay. I am assuming that you're talking about Acropora. Okay, both are under 340 par, AI hydro, good flow, and low nutrient. Okay. When it comes to acros, I don't know if people realize this generally. Like long-term acro people know this, but when you shop for acros and you have it shipped to you, expect everything to be brown crap. Like it could be like the most fire specimens ever going into the bag and coming to you. If they happen to be colorful when they arrive, bonus points, okay? Because what your actual expectation should be is they should be like brown and pissed off, and they will stay that way for up to 6 months. Like high-end acro shopping is not for the faint of heart at all. So once you get it into your tank, it simply might take a long time in perfect conditions. That's just how it is. Like, I wouldn't do anything different. I would just try to maintain everything in your system exactly how it is. Don't move it around too much. Like sometimes these things just take a long time to adjust to a new aquarium. The acros are, I think one of the things that makes acros popular is just how difficult it is to receive or to achieve like peak coloration. It is a moving target. It sucks to do. Anyways, guys, we are into overtime, but I will knock out these last bit of questions here. Okay, Philip Fess. I want to upgrade to a 180, where my 60 currently is. Ooh, okay. I can put it elsewhere, but the spot where my 60 is perfect. Transfer corals and livestock to Rubbermaid for the interim. Okay. I have done a similar move. It's traumatic. It's traumatic for your corals. It's traumatic for you. I remember getting started, and it was just me doing this move. I was moving like a 75 to a 120 in the same location, meaning I have to fully break down the 75 and then start into setting up the 120 and then moving all the livestock over. I started that morning, like maybe 11 a.m. And by like 9 p.m., I was still going and having practically a nervous breakdown. One of my friends came over and we worked until midnight. That time from 9 p.m. till midnight was still so traumatic that same friend brings it up every single time he sees me, and this happened 25 years ago. That is how bad that experience sucks. If at all you can avoid this issue, try. Because, okay, maybe you could like just break it up over like, like maybe you could keep it alive in like the Rubbermaid for like maybe like a day or two. Like, anything you can do to extend your time frame, try, because it sucks to break down a tank and put up a new one in the same spot. It sucks. Like really what you're talking about is like a 3-day job that you have to do in like 8 hours. It sucks. It's possible. It's just not going to be fun. I like clamps and dressing up. Mostly wearing LL Bean here in upstate New York, though. I getcha. I mean, I've got 2 modes. I got this, and I've got pajamas. There's a lot of pajama days that happen here. It might be surprising, but a lot of pajama days. Let's see. Carol, please do a farm update. It's been a while. I shall. It has been, you're right. Michael West, so true, good advice. Appreciate the reassurance. Yeah, it's I'm glad that you get it because I think a lot of people get into this acropora game and they're like, it's going to be like easy and it's going to retain its color, right? I'm like, no, it's actually very, very difficult. And if you, by you the very act of you asking that question makes it seem like it's not going to happen. Philip Fast, thanks, Stan. Not doing it then. I'll set up a bigger tank elsewhere. That's a great idea. Let it cycle. So here's the thing. Okay, you probably don't have to let it cycle for months and months. You could, or you could just dump in all your coral, and that might actually be the better route. Just saying. Like, I did the months and months thing my whole career. It worked out. I actually think moving everything in day one's better. So, anyways, guys, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. Very cool of you. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. It's been a time. I actually have to do stuff downstairs at the Coral Farm with Coral Farm stuff, if you can believe it. And then maybe I might catch some collegiate American hand egg, or at least the highlights. So, anyways, guys, thank you very much. I will see you all next time. Take care. Happy reefing.